We're just going to have a short discussion and then hopefully take a question or two as well from our audience. I'll start perhaps with Mr. Auki and Kareem. So thanks a lot, Kareem, for the great account of the start of developing, the beginnings of developing a master plan for Education City. Of course, the work of Arata Isozaki, Mr. Hiroshi Aoki as well, has really been, as you rightly suggested, a system, has given us a system to grow from. And again, I invite everyone here to come and join us at the gallery here at the HBKU Student Center for an exhibition on the evolution of Education City campus. So to Mr. Aoki, perhaps speaking about the convention center that you've worked on very closely. I know we kind of rushed you a bit, Kareem, at that point. So I mean, I would say that even though your involvement was early on, there were a few buildings, yes, on site, but there was a vast site to imagine, you know, what goes on it. And very, very rightly, as you had suggested, the brief was calling for a world-class educational campus. And I think the convention center on the Dukhan Highway, or potentially now as well a more kind of on-grade avenue, it does give this scale, does give this presence. So if you wish to speak more about it, you know, how was that imagined? Even the kind of the structure basically that has become the dominating as well factor, or the dominating expression of that building.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I skipped a lot of sections about the convention center, but this is one of the dearest projects even to Mr. Isozaki. But of course, I mean, other than the direct practical or technical requirements to have these different halls with the different capacities, the mission or the challenge from day one was to make a statement. This is one of the buildings, I mean, probably one of the closest buildings back then to the main road. So, and as I mentioned at the beginning, because we were constantly, or Mr. Izaki was constantly challenged by QF and by the vision of Her Highness. I mean, for example, during the Islamic Center, Her Highness, we remember, was saying that Islamic architecture has developed up to the 16th century, and afterwards it became repetitive. Here we do not want to fall in the same trap. So you already set the tone or the benchmark really high. The same thing with the convention center. Again, with the foyer, we had to look back on the historical evolution of this, of the foyer, or the structures of the foyer, to arrive at the new language, unique to Education City. I mean, we looked at the hypostyle versions, we looked at Sinan's large spans, we looked at also the Antonio Gaudi's experiments with the structural curvature, and based on all of this, we needed to go to the next step. And this is why Isozaki involved the genius work of Mr. Sasaki, the structural designer, to actually come up with an icon that, as I said, aligns, not only sets new structural standards, but also aligns visually with the very core of Education City, the Cedar Tree. So.
Thank you. Turning to Engineer Jassim Tilifa, thanks a lot for your heartfelt as well welcome note, and which also kind of alludes to obviously the challenging, the complex as well type of projects that we work with, the challenging environment that we work with, and the very dynamic one, as also seen from the early kind of seeds, the early buildings, the early development of the master plan. And you've been here, I mean, since 2002. Can you speak a little bit about, you know, what does it mean to work in such a dynamic environment?
Actually, I just want to leave you with two things that I learned from being involved in these great projects. One thing is really, it's not about the brick or how beautiful the building would look like. It's about the story that comes beyond what you put together as really a piece of architecture that are really available there. There is a lot of intellectual literature that comes with these really beautiful buildings. I remember lately, Ali Menguer and Ada, they were really competing in the Faculty of Islamic Study building in Singapore with a couple of 100 buildings. about really being the best religious building in the world for this year, that was really because there is a lot of stories beyond what they put together as an architecture. There are 4 columns that are taking the mosque. There are minarets that has a story why they're put together. There is a lot of literature that people, when they start hearing about, they get amazed about how we're connecting the story with the final piece of architecture that we put together. This is very important in all our buildings. Every signature architect who participated in putting their building in Education City, they have a great story. We work very hard in trying to really put that, I would say, very thorough story to make it happen. The second advice I wanted to put is about being patient as an architect. Sometimes your white hair would develop because you're getting older, but sometimes it's really because of amount of thinkings that you would generate. And if you see me, just a couple of years, I mean, before I didn't have one single white hair, and now you could see what the nature did to me. So what I'm saying is really you need to be patient. I remember working with the architect Ibrahim Al-Jada in the housing. How many versions of the master plan how we had to redo and repeat and repeat and repeat. Whenever we finish a master plan, we have to go and repeat it again. You've seen Arata's version of the master plan. How many versions we had? The master plan of Education City version, what is the version number?
About 21.
21 versions of the master plan. This needs patience. It doesn't mean that you really don't have, I would say, you don't make up your mind, but there are a lot of details that goes into it to refine it, to make it better, and that needs patience. Some of the signature architects could not really bear with us. They gave up. They said, thank you very much for the opportunity. We don't want to make it. Because they were challenged, especially in the concept stage. And these signature architects that put their buildings in there, they had the patience. They were always passionate to really go back and revisit and rethink so they can develop their pieces. And I congratulate them for having their pieces in here. This is what I wanted to share with you, and I wasn't prepared for this, sorry.
Shukran. Thank you. Shukran. Shukran, Mohammed. Ustad Ibrahim, there was one kind of statement that you made. There was one statement that you made that really stopped me while you were presenting. When you said that when you first came here, you could not comprehend the scale of what this site would become. And to be honest, this is something that me and my colleagues at Capital Projects, we kind of also take for granted the scale that we've reached to today. And it's only when we pause, at an event like this, or on a site visit, on a clear day morning, that we realize, the tremendous amount of work, the scale, the growth that we've reached to. How would you, if you can add a few more words about your experience as an architect who designed this kind of very first seed as well of the campus, the cornerstone, Hajar al-Asas, and from your perspective as well as a Qatari, in Qatar, what would this mean to you both as an architect who contributed to the campus design, as a Qatari in Qatar as well?
Well, just to first, I tell my brother Jassim that I went beyond the gray hair. I went to no hair now. That's how much I got involved. Usually such vision in the normal circumstances in different places, we've seen how Harvard evolved, MIT, Oxford, it takes a century or even beyond to develop such a master plan. But things happen faster here because of our ambitions, and we're a young nation also. And to see this seed really grow up into this such a big master plan having students from all over the region and all over the world coming to study, the best professors, again, from different places of the world coming, is really a thrill. And this particular vision reflects also a wider vision into building a nation on solid basis, education, medical, this is where they want the young Qataris to become. And we can see this seed really, fortunately, where I told once, a couple of years ago, this to Her Highness, that you're already seeing your seeds really flourishing and taking charge of our nation, which is a great moment for all of us.
Thank you very much indeed. And we have many of Education City and Qatar University's graduates actually working for capital projects whom we're very proud to have on our team. I would now open perhaps the floor, if there are any last remarks that our speakers would like to make following the discussion. Otherwise, we can open the floor for 2 questions as well from the audience. Yes, Jeff, here. Sorry, we'll start here and then a second one here. Jeff, if you can raise your hand so that...
Very interesting, I must say. Excuse me. The discussion has been about the master plan and celebration of architecture, and yet the buildings occupy less of the total campus than the spaces between them. And so far I've not heard any discussion about the detail about the 3 dimensions, the character of those spaces. The ceremonial court, yes, I understand that, but the rest of it that ties the whole group of buildings together, I've heard nothing. I'm wondering if one of you could at least give us a little bit of insight into that.
I mean, just to add that the second session is going to speak more about more of the architecture of the campus. And then in the third session, we're going to actually talk about current master planning preoccupations as well for Education City, which will tackle the very subject that you've just mentioned. But I don't know, Engineer Jassim, if you would like to also add.
I just want to add one example, and just to give you an example about 2 buildings. One is the Faculty of Islamic Studies, and the second is the Northwestern University, close by. Just try to imagine, stop from far away, looking at these 2 buildings, and you would notice that these buildings are talking to each other in terms of architecture. There are 2 architects who designed this building, but there must be really an integration happening between these 2 buildings by a master planner. And I think I would give the credit to Engineer Saad Al-Muhannadi, the president of Qatar Foundation, who was really the custodian of the master plan, who was really managing this master plan. You would see them, the buildings, they look totally different from each other, but they are facing each other in a way where they're really, you would imagine that there is one architect who designed both buildings, because they are really, in the way, in the content, they are really facing each other. So this is an example of how the integration is happening between a building and another building. And there are tons of examples where the connection is happening. And I think there is now master plan integration that's ongoing to really create that link and connecting the dots between a building and another building.
Thank you. And Antoine Pridoc is going to be presenting as well in the second session, who will speak about the Northwestern project and how what Engineer Jassim was talking about, the emphasis on bridging the landscape between these 2 projects, though very different in their architectural expression, but come to kind of a cohesive landscape, combining them through the gardens in between. We have 2 questions, so one here, and we'll come to Engineer Saad.
Thank you for the informative presentations. I find it very interesting that the project, this ambitious project, is called Education City. So the name city coincides with vast literature about Islamic city and with rich heritage of the region of Islamic city. So I was wondering how the lessons which we know about the Islamic city, walkability, sustainability, like particularly in such weather, like Qatar's weather, how these lessons have been reflected or whether they were reflected. Like Mr. Karim talked about the technical aspects of the master plan and talked in technical language. I wonder about the culture, the symbolic, and these dimensions. Also the environmental and sustainability dimensions of the master plan. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Actually, as I mentioned, if we had more time, we can go through every key component that we've tackled. But of course, this, I have to say that that was the first major project for Isozaki in the Middle East. And there's of course, I mean, historically, there's a big gap in between the culture, between the Japanese culture and let's say the Middle Eastern and Islamic culture. And there's a lack of exchange, but that presented a first opportunity for that to happen. And since that commission started, there was extensive research on all aspects of Islamic culture or historic or the history of the area, not only limited to Qatar, but the broader scale of it. And of course, we tackled everything from, in terms of studies, and probably none of them have been implemented, and mostly none of them have been, most of them have not been, are not visible now in the master plan, but they presented, they allowed us to set these guidelines. For example, on the environmental level, we dealt a lot with the issues of course, the historic or the wind towers, and also on the mashrabiyas. And we took them to, I mean, the ceremonial court is just one example of it. There's another building, which is the Bridge Arts and Science building, which has the geometric pattern wrapped around it. That, I mean, didn't have a chance to talk about it, but that, on the architectural scale, implements a lot of the traditional language in terms of courtyards, in terms of cooling, shading. And other than that, on the green spine, we also tried to look at the circulation networks between, I mean, traditionally looking at how one courtyard connected to the other, and that continuously provided shading throughout the city. Of course, our exercise, our involvement was more the project was called LUMP, which is Land Use Master Plan. So there's, you're zooming out a bit and trying to define the zoning of the whole city, but at the same time, we were able to shift in scales. Zoom at one point to like particular issues, architectural issues, and others, master planning issues. But I have to say, we could, I mean, we were dealing with a city, but that city actually was, I mean, you would expect a natural, a certain time frame for the development of this city. But here, in this project, what made it really unique and challenging is it was expanding as we were drawing. You will be drawing on a 220 hectare, next day it becomes 550. Program changes, so there was, I mean, a limit to how much input we could provide at that first stage. I'm not sure if I actually have answered all your questions, but I...
Actually, it's not a question. It is a comment and suggestion. First of all, I would like really to thank Qatar Foundation to organize that first conference, and to do this with also with internal resources is really outstanding effort from the Qatar Foundation. And I hope that we have some regular conference in this in every 2 years or 1 year with other stakeholders in Qatar, in the state of Qatar, to share the information and the knowledge of each party. What I believe, what I saw today, and now I understand the energy of Jassim, because to see all this achievement, and this is really create an energy and ambition for each staff from Qatar Foundation, and to see all this mission complete in within 20 years, there's really something to be proud about it. I hope also the conference come with some recommendation about the lesson learned. I am sure there's some success story to speak about it, but also we speak about what are the main factor for our success story, and also what is main factor to be prevented for other stakeholder. And this is my suggestion, and really it was wonderful conference attended to be done by internal resource. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is really much appreciated, and this conference is put together by purely internal resources. It's all by the Capital Projects team and our colleagues at Estad, who have been working non-stop for the past couple of weeks, couple of months maybe. So thank you very much, and definitely we do hope that Learning from Education City is not a one conference, but an initiative with many more occasions for exchange, and perhaps it becomes Learning from Qatar. It's, you know, including all of our stakeholders. Of course, we're very honored to have the management of Qatar Rail as well join us today. The discussion is definitely much bigger than us alone. It does involve everybody who's building Qatar. Thanks a lot for our guests. We have a 5-minute break. Stretch your legs. You can get a quick cup of coffee, but come back. We have a great line of speakers as well in the second session that I'm certain you will enjoy. So yes, stay with us for the rest of the day. Thank you very much.